Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy is suspected of having killed as many as 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series that investigates the crimes that shocked the nation.
The thing everybody thought they knew wasn't the whole story.
John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now.
Devil in disguise.
Only on Peacock.
Welcome to Situational Awareness Tactics Podcast. This podcast provides the crucial art of understanding current elements in an environment to increase your safety and survival. Here's your host, forensic psychologist and consultant, Dr. Carlos.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, today we got a great guest, Pat Watson from Uncensored Tactical. If you're not following him on Instagram, I highly recommend it. If you're wondering about lockpicking, I think he's going to give you a whole different perspective of what lockpicking is all about. Before we get started, please make sure to share and subscribe and hit that like button to help us out. We truly would appreciate it. You can get his new book called Tactical Lockpicking. I highly recommend it. It's a fascinating look. It's a look at training and tactics for first responders and the prepared citizen. And in today's world, we need to be prepared. He also has a podcast called Uncensored Tactical. I highly recommend that as well. Let's not waste any more time. Welcome to the show, Mr. Watson. Welcome, sir.
Thanks so much, Dr. Carlos. Happy to be here.
This is great. We had you I think it was about a year ago now.
Maybe
a year.
Maybe a year.
Yeah, crazy stuff. And you've really risen a lot here in this world of lockpicking. It's fascinating to watch. But tell us, what got you motivated to write the book, and what's it all about?
Sure. The motivation for the book was, actually, I got the answer right here in my hands for those of you on the video portion of this. So here are some of the, I guess you can call them competitor books out there. This one's 12 pages. This one's 90 pages. A couple more are in the 30s. And you buy them on, you go to Amazon.com and you go, oh, look, a cool photo with lockpicks in it. And it's everything you need to know. And you go to page 40 and they go, the end. And it's not spelled correctly. And all the photos are black and white. And all the drawings are like line art done in MS Paint. So I thought, I really like teaching. I really like, actually more so giving people value. Yeah, giving people value is a big deal for me. So I tried to cram as much value as I could into this. So here's a size comparison here.
Oh wow!
The thing I wrote is like a doorstop or a full college course textbook, and the competitor is a tiny little someone wrote it in maybe 10 minutes, and English was not their first language. So I also had a discussion with my editor, and they said, okay, so we're going to do a small 6x8 book, black and white photos. And I went, no, absolutely not. We're going as big as we can. All the photos, we're going to be as close to full page as we can, all full color. And I'm sure most of your audience, especially the law enforcement, military folks, have seen, you go to a course where they go, cut the red wire, cut the blue wire. And they go, hey, here's a copy of the course. It's actually just a printout of the PowerPoint slides. You can take that home with you forever. And you get home and you're like, this is black and white. And the arrows are like, see the red wire. And you're like, no, they're all black and white. So I wanted to give people as much value as I could.
Well, that's great. I'm excited. And for a lot of people out there, and I think one of the last podcasts we talked about, you were talking about how important it is. Maybe we can kind of reiterate that, how important it is for police officers. I think I've seen on Instagram, sometimes people comment about, hey, I'm so glad you showed me this, or went to your class, whatever. I actually had to use it. It was a welfare check, I think. They couldn't get in. Then they had to bust the door. Not to bust the door. I think they went in and lockpicked instead of busting their door. Tell us a bit about that.
So it's crazy how it's lacking in the law enforcement world. I mean, in all first responder jobs, your job is to get to the emergency and then help people. So it's just shocking how many doorknobs and door handles and door frames and windows and cars that you touch with your hands every day. And you go, oh, we're locked out. Let's solve this problem. Someone come help me. Or we're locked out. It's not really an emergency, but we're still going in. Let's destroy this property. And then, the property owner is left with no recourse. So respectful entry is what some of my peers in the community call it. There's some firefighters that do a course that's similar. They're the people that are the most close to what I do. And they do what's called respectful entry. So they do some stuff that's minimally intrusive or minimal damage they can cause. But I mostly focus on non-destructive entry. And it just, while I was on the job as a local law enforcement officer, is where I really sharpened my edge with all this entry stuff. And it's just shocking how many times I got the call on the radio, hey, can you switch to attack channel? Yeah, sure. Hey, we need your skill set here. We're kind of locked out. And I wonder, what would you do if I wasn't here? And it's not taught in the academies. And if it is, it's probably not even its own PowerPoint slide. It's probably just a bullet note on the slide. And surprisingly, I have students that as soon as we sit down in my in-person course, I don't even do introductions in my course. I go sit down, pick up this tool, pick up that tool, open that padlock. And 90% of my students open their first padlock within 60 seconds.
Really?
So it is not an unattainable goal or an unachievable skill set. It is so easily accessible if you put the time into it, and you just need a little bit of time. You just need a few inexpensive tools. So the book is a great primer to get you started on that.
Let me ask you, there are so many questions now.
Yeah.
First one, I guess, is there's different levels. When I'm looking at Instagram, there's a lot of people who show the different types of padlocks and how to be able to. Some are more difficult than others. Do you have courses in that as well?
For now, because I've been doing my training mostly outside of my day job, I only offered one course, which it covers basic all the way through intermediate entry skills.
Okay.
And I give my students all the tools and the knowledge that I can for them to self-coach when they leave. So my goal that I tell them, and what I hope I'm embodying, is when you leave my course, I want you to have everything you need to end up being a better practitioner than I am. So I don't do like the old, the 60s or 70s movies, black and white, with the karate master. Like, I can't teach you that technique. You are not yet a black belt. I'll give people everything I can. And I want everybody to succeed. So I don't keep any techniques from people. I don't keep the tools from people. I teach open enrollment. So as long as you're a rational, reasonable human, you can show up and learn from me.
What is the most challenging aspect for the students? What is one thing you see over and over again? This is a hiccup to keep getting into.
Sure. So for the 10% of my students that don't get the lock open in their first 60 seconds, which would be about 1 out of 10. So usually my classes are about 6 to 10 people. Unless there's a very specific reason, I'll keep my classes small. Unless it's like an agency or a team that has 12 or 14 people, I'll do that, but I'll always make sure I bring extra help to teach. So the 1 out of 10 that doesn't get it right away, almost always, is when you're using fine motor skills and you're frustrated, your shoulders crunch up and you tighten your hands and you get upset and you squeeze a little too tight. So a lot of times that's what's called binding. So you're in essence, you're pushing 2 pieces of metal together inside the lock. And as you move some movable pieces in there, because of that friction, a little tiny shelf is created and some pins will just catch on that shelf and they'll rest, which is where you want them. Well, when you push too hard, these 2 pieces of metal together, those pins in the middle, they don't freely move. So you're binding those things in place and you're not allowing them to move at all. So 10% of the people, which is pretty common, the most common thing I see when you start is you're frustrated, you squeeze, you're too tight. And it's funny, everyone has a blind spot. I have them, I'm sure you have them. And I'll tell my students, okay, what you're doing with your hands, I can see it from across the room. Like, look at the shape of my hand. Like, I'm stressed, I'm frustrated. Look at my hands. And they look at my hands and I go, you're frustrated. Your hands are too tight. You're applying too much pressure. And they go, okay. And I'm like, no, less pressure. And they go, okay, got it. I'm frustrated. I'm like, no, less tension, less pressure, less movement, nice and easy. So that's the most common problem I have with new students. It's easily fixable, but it's really common and it's funny.
What was that? The Pogo quote. Remember that? We met the enemy, he was us, or something like that.
I like it.
Yeah, it was an old quote. It's interesting because I know I had somebody sent me a kit a while back ago, and it had the see-through, the see-through lock, so you can see the pins going up and down. It's really amazing, as you mentioned, because it's just a little light touch. You can't go too hard. It doesn't do anything. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. It makes it worse for you, as you mentioned. I remember practicing trying to push these pins up, and it's like, wow, This really messes you up. Now, some people say, well, actually, I'll get to that later. Some of the things I know people worry about. If you lockpick, you damage the doors and things of that nature. We can talk about that in a minute. Back to your classes. How long is the training?
Right now, I offer a 2-day course, which is not just lock picking, but also a large focus on bypasses. So it's how to pick a lock open through the keyway, how to go around the keyway to tag other parts of the door or the gate or the padlock. It's a little bit on social engineering, but not in the common usage of the word. So I'm not tricking people into allowing me to have access. I'm actually thinking about how people commonly create their security systems and implement them so that we can find a solution based on pattern thinking. So it's lockpicking, it's bypasses, it's a little bit about social engineering. And I have a large block that I do on restraint escapes, which the thousands and thousands of cops I've worked with in my life and military operators have no clue it's even possible to break out of restraints. They think it's just something in movies or something on the rare YouTube video, but it's so common and it's so scary. But once you detain somebody, you own them, at least temporarily, which also means you own their safety and the safety of the public and everybody. So you should be taught in almost any academy that you go to, all restraints are temporary. Don't walk away from someone you've detained. Always keep your eyes on them. Always be rechecking them. Do a thorough search, search the environment, search the person, and take responsibility for them. But restraint escapes are some of them are just wildly easy. And of course, out of my courses, you get the flip side, which is if you know how to attack, then you know how to defend is a big part of it. I mean, I'm sure you're probably familiar with so many people in the academy, they go, here's your handcuffs, double lock them when you apply them because, I don't know, good luck. So they leave you hanging. No one really tells you, because if you don't double lock them, someone watching a 2-minute YouTube video can open them with a paperclip. So when you double lock them, you make it multiple times more difficult to break out of often.
Geez, how many times have we seen it? And it's I've seen it several times. Even I think a couple months ago they had a video that popped up where the guy unlocked the handcuffs. I think at an airport. And the thing about it, it's extremely dangerous. Like the one individual who unlocked his handcuffs and then tried to kill the cops in the car. Mm-hmm. It's really insane. It's
a reoccurring problem. So people, I have to defend myself here for a second. Some people get upset and they go, "How dare you teach the public?" And I go, "Well, listen. The manufacturers of these handcuffs and these other restraint products and the front door lock on your door, the people that manufacture these products are lying to you. They are not telling you about the flaws or the limitations of their systems. Your agencies that you work for, there's really only two options. Either they know about the flaws in handcuffs and they don't teach you, or they don't know about the flaws in handcuffs and they don't teach you. Both of those are bad. So your agencies, the manufacturers, they're all the ones lying to you. I'm telling you this because I want to protect you. And God forbid you're in a foreign country and you're illegally detained by, I don't know, a gang or a tyrannical government or something. It's probably good to know, okay, if someone's trying to kill me while I'm in restraints, maybe I should break out of these restraints. So I teach this stuff to bring value and to help protect people is really what I do.
No, I think it's a great point. I remember when we first talked, that was my question back then. Is why would you teach them? But then, as you mentioned, it's really important for police officers to know the countermeasures to that, and as well as security and military, anybody like that. As you mentioned, people get kidnapped if you're in high-risk environments, which some people are, unfortunately. It's great to know that. Now, I didn't know that part about the training. On the book, so tell us a little bit about the book. What do you cover in the book?
Sure. It's roughly 20 chapters. It's about 300 pages. It's a thick book. It's heavy. It's roughly 20 chapters. About 10 of those are specific techniques or patterns that we use in the field or topics. And then about 10 other chapters are case studies. So I intersperse those back and forth throughout the book. So I like to go, here's a technique or a tool or a system or an approach. Cool. Hey, here's a story of that and other things that you can blend in to show you how I learned this lesson in the field, how it doesn't work in the field, how you might want to implement it. So I try to give a lot of depth to this book. So it's not just a dry textbook of here's how you do it. Put A into B, continue. I tried to make it really alive and really enjoyable. So also disclaimer, there's some adult language and some adult humor in the book as well. I tried to make it as non-boring as possible.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, because you're right. A lot of times these books are kind of a little bit dry. I remember one of the kits I ordered a long time ago. It was just like a little 5-page thing they photocopied from somewhere. Kudos to them. They got my 20, but still unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the book you can get at uncensoredtactical.com. I think they can purchase it there. Is it on Amazon as well?
It's on Amazon. They do the digital Kindle version. I think Barnes and Nobles has a digital version.
Cool.
If you don't, a lot of people now are kind of jumping on the don't support Amazon bandwagon. If you want to get it direct from the printer, the paperback version, you can go to lulu.com, LULU, or you can just follow the link on my website if you click the book link.
Excellent. Check out uncensoredtactical.com. Now, do you provide tools? There's a lot of different types of tools, and people have these really cool kits, and there's some really cool sites on Instagram as well with these kits. What do you provide on that end?
Sure. Another impetus for me starting the course, not only just the book, but the course that I teach, was I attended some very expensive, very professional training for this about a decade ago. I paid a lot of my hard-earned money to go, and the military didn't pay for it. I had to take my own vacation time to attend and pay for it myself. And I get there, and it wasn't very good. I was really let down. It didn't come with any tools whatsoever. We had to buy the tools once we got to the course, which we weren't told about. So I told myself that day, about a decade ago, I'm going to teach a course like this, and I'm going to do it better, and I'm going to charge less. So that's been my goal this whole time. So as soon as you sit down in my course, I give you $200+ worth of tools, and I just hand it right to you. These are all yours. Here you go.
Oh wow, 200+.
And you get a copy of the book, and you get a thumb drive with tons of videos and photos for stuff that we don't even cover in the course, just miscellaneous extra stuff. And you get access to all the tools that I carry in the field, which is a couple $1,000s worth of tools. So you can put your hands on all that different stuff. So I try to give you,
tools. Wow.
Yeah. And I actually stage that out in 3 lines of gear. So your first line of gear is usually the stuff you have on your body or in your pockets, on your belt, maybe on your keychain, your wallet, stuff like that. So you get a full first line gear loadout, which is a wallet packed full of a bunch of small but very effective tools. Second line gear is like a go bag, like a purse or a handbag or a shoulder strap bag, messenger bag, whatever. Third line gear is your large, heavy miscellaneous items that stay in the trunk of your car or at your office or something like that. So every student, as soon as they sit down, I go, these are yours. You can use these during the course. You can take them home after the course. They belong to you. So I think that's another huge piece of value. It's like, and that knocks off, $200 worth of your class ticket. So if you say you're going to a shooting course and they go, hey, it's $1,000 and bring your own ammo. Well, that's 500 more bucks. Or they can go, or just pay us $1,500 and attend the course and we'll give you the ammo. So I do a version of that, which is, if you think about it, it's not very expensive if you do the day rate for most tactical courses, which if you take $200 off, what are we in May of 2021? It's an $850 a person course, and it's a 2-day course. So even dividing that by half, $400 a day is a very reasonable kind of countrywide rate for tactical courses, especially rifles, breaching, shooting, fighting, all that stuff. So I'm right there in that level.
Yeah, it's great. It's such an esoteric field too.
Yeah, not a lot of people do this.
No, it's kind of hard to get the right tools, right? It is like you're just going to go to Home Depot. Hey, you have lockpicking tools. It doesn't work that way, I don't think. So it's good to have somebody who knows what they're doing to be able to provide you at least the right tools. That's great. Another
piece of value too is where to not waste your money. So when you come to the course, a lot of people go, hey, I was looking at, and they pull out their phone. I was going to buy this kit, 300 pieces for $300. And I'm like, no, do not. No, don't do that. So that's my piece of recommendation for anyone in the audience. If you're excited about this stuff, don't go on Amazon and buy the most expensive thing you can find. Locksmith professionals, pen testing people, security professionals. Even if we own those 100, 200 piece kits, we use like 2 tools out of there and the rest collect dust. So that is not a good investment. It's better to buy custom or, something that a small tool or one tool that fits your need instead of buying these large bulk packages very often.
I guess my last questions would be dispelling any myths about lockpicking. I think the first one we usually hear is it damages doors, because some people say, hey, don't keep practicing on your door. You'll damage the lock.
It's possible, but if you're picking using a pretty standard method, like nothing esoteric, nothing crazy, if you're picking using a normal method, you're probably not going to damage your door. But yes, there is that 1% chance. that 1% chance is important enough that I wouldn't practice on my own front door, because 1 out of 100 chance is I'm going to have to sleep awake all night, with my rifle sitting at the foot of my door or, wait till the locksmith opens in the morning to install a new door and do lock for me when all the stores are shut at midnight. So I still wouldn't practice on locks that I rely on day to day for my security. However, like the interior of your house, like you might be able to see my bathroom door here in the background. On the interior of most people's houses, you can unbolt any doorknob and put almost any other doorknob in that you want to practice on and not really be at a risk of, losing access to a part of your home. And a lot of times you don't necessarily have to lock especially like a knob or a handle. You don't often have to lock it to get that same amount of practice in. So there's so many techniques that you can practice trying to touch the latch from the push or the pull side, and you can still get the same tactile feel, whether it's in the locked position or the unlocked position. So even if you mess up, you don't really lose access to a space in your home. So those are some tips for you.
That's great stuff. And don't practice on somebody else's lock too, by the way.
Yeah. And if you're ever going to make an entry for somebody, if they're present on scene, I always tell them, hey, do you give me permission to try and do like a lockpicking entry here? And they'll always go, yeah. And I go, I want you to know there's a really small chance I'm going to damage it, but it's possible. Are you okay with that? And they go, yeah. And I go, okay, I carry on. So if you're able to do that, I just still always say that as my disclaimer.
Just for the curiosity of myself, I guess, and the public maybe,
mm-hmm.
What's the most difficult lock you've had to open? And not because of lack of experience, but because of just difficulty.
Well, yeah, that's a good answer. I think you're going to like this one. Most of what myself and other of my peers in the community, most of what we do is bypassing. So we will look at the weakest part of that system and we'll attack that as quick as we can. And that's really the focus of my book, is a systemized approach to get the fastest non-destructive entry possible. So it's not just how to put this tool into that keyway. The toughest doors that myself and some of my colleagues, there's some real cool people on Instagram that I chat with quite a bit. The toughest things that we encounter are honestly just standard low to medium security systems that are installed correctly. So most locks and most doors are installed close, but not perfect. So either the gaps are too big, or the angles are kind of off, or there's too much weather stripping or not enough, or you have a good deadbolt, you have a good latch, but the strike plates are either too shallow or something like that. And so any of those small little adjustments that aren't fitted right or installed right are so easy for us to bypass, like almost sometimes just with a coat hanger sweep or the credit card or pocket knife, just without even taking lock picks out. So to answer your question, the hardest locks that myself and some other people in this community, the hardest ones that we face are ones that are just installed correctly, which means if you have a home or an office or a business or a unit headquarters, the best way to secure yourself is just to understand that system and to just fit it and install it right. It's really a really low cost security upgrade.
It's interesting, Pat, because obviously this is a situational awareness tactics podcast. And if you're listening to this on another podcast that I have, you can catch our situational awareness one too. But I wonder if maybe that could be another angle for you, is looking at securing homes for people on the other side. Exactly, that could be really beneficial for folks. Like you said, a lot of people don't have it. And I've talked to so many who've never heard of the idea of putting these 3-inch screws. So when they try to kick the door, some of these home invasions, obviously the more crafty burglars will try to lockpick. But have you ever thought of that? Or do you do that already, maybe?
I absolutely have thought of it. I left my day job just last month to pursue this full time. I've been making a lot of success and a lot of headway. Now that I have more free time, that's something I'll be offering, but I have a couple projects that are going to take 2 to 3 or 4 months of my time. I got my service dog here next to me. I just signed a contract to open a canine training franchise as well.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be training dogs, which is going to take up an awful lot of time. It already is. And I have the book. I have my second book out with an editor right now. It's going to be published hopefully in a couple months. And I have a big video series on lockpicking that I start filming next week. Okay. So that will be available soon. So I'm busy. I'm really busy.
You are busy. Yeah, this is
I'm
expanding
really for sure.
That's wonderful. That's a great thing. So again, we're getting to get somebody, well, not for you, but somebody to secure that door. Should they call a lockpicking expert themselves? Should they call Home Depot? Who should they go to?
Yeah, the easiest thing you can do is honestly is just YouTube. Say how do I secure my door? How do I break into my door? And then you know what to look for. Honestly, and before you buy like a gun safe too, same thing. Take them if you're at the store and you go, oh look, a gun safe for 30, 40, 50, $100, whatever. Just go open up your smartphone and go YouTube and then go make, model, gun safe. You know, look it up by the make and the model on the shelf before you buy it and go how to lockpick or how to bypass or how to break in or how to hack. And you'll see dozens of videos of, you know, kids doing these techniques and popping them right open. So there is no such thing as perfect security, but if you see dozens and dozens and dozens of videos of someone breaking into a system, maybe choose a different system. And if someone's really advanced and they're super hacker, super locksmith, and they go, yeah, I could get this, but I struggled. Cool. Maybe that's a good choice for you. And that costs $0 to get on YouTube and do some research.
And I don't know if this is the right question to ask you or not before we wrap up, but why is it? Because we heard that argument. You mentioned it earlier. There's a lot of people say, why do you do it? Because a lot of the criminal element are going to be looking at this. But it doesn't seem like, from everything I've read, from everybody I've talked to and experts in the field, burglars don't do that. And I know
it's insanely rare, way less than 1%.
I know a lot of them have substance use issues, so a lot of times they're not going to be able to focus that way anyway on some of this stuff. But burglars are always looking for either the open window or the unlocked door. They never try the locked door. Why do you think that is?
I have the answer. And you people like you and I, everybody does a cost-benefit analysis. Although criminals have a different system they run, they still do a cost-benefit analysis. And to take the focus and the drive and to open that brain sponge up and to buy the tools and to do the research and to sit down and practice in a dedicated workstation. For people like me and you that have relatively normal lives, we can do that. But for a burglar, you know, for a low-level, street-level criminal to go, okay, I want to hit this house. Let me take a photo of the doorknob and then go do my research and buy the tools and get a book and go to class. No, absolutely not. So the cost benefit is I can smash that window and I can grab that stuff and I can run. And what do I get out of it? All this stuff. Well, how long does that take? About this long. What tools do I need? This much. So their cost benefit analysis happens really quickly and it's on a different scale. So for me and you, if it's, oh, I shouldn't do that, it's immoral, we don't do it. Or if it's, maybe not, but it's illegal, we go, we probably won't do it. For a criminal, it's a different system, but they still run that same math equation in their head.
It's a great answer. Great answer. Never heard that before. It's awesome. Pat, I can keep you here all day, my friend.
I loved it. This was great.
We can talk about this stuff all day long. Really fascinating stuff. Again, folks, uncensoredtactical.com, uncensoredtactical.com. Catch the book, Tactical Lockpicking. You can get it on Amazon, but as Pat mentioned, if you're boycotting, and head over to his website and you can catch it over there too. Thanks again so much for doing this. You're going to have to let us know when you get your new book out. Bring you back for that.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Awesome stuff, folks. Again, share and subscribe. Check it out on the video. You're going to see some videos that Pat will be sending us a little later on about lockpicking that you might want to check out. We'll put it in dispersely in this video. I don't know if that's even a word, but either way, you know what I mean. It's going to be inside the video, so check it out. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Streaming only on Peacock, Ghislaine Maxwell had it all until she met Jeffrey Epstein.
Ghislaine Maxwell's charged with enticement of minors, sex trafficking of children, and perjury.
Epstein's Shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell. Streaming now, only on Peacock. Peacock fuels your true crime obsession with exclusive new originals. John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise.
Clowns can get away with murder.
And Epstein's Shadow, Ghislaine Maxwell.
She inherited Jeffrey Epstein's secrets.
Plus the most bingeable crime series, Snapped. Sign up now at peacocktv.com.